Imagine waking up from the best sleep of your life. You open your eyes and you have to fumble around for your glasses because you can't see anything. I'm talking, of course, about the struggle that people with poor vision, like myself, go through every single morning. And you feel like Velma from Scooby-Doo scurrying around looking for a way to make it to the bathroom.
Hey, my glasses!
And today we're going to showcase, in honor of that, a company that has made being able to see and getting your contacts a lot less painful. So we're talking, of course, about 1-800-CONTACTS, and we'll be going through the 3 things specifically that make their marketing funnel and strategy so powerful. Welcome to another episode of Funnel Friday. I'm Nick Williams. It's good to have you. Stick around. Welcome back. I am Nick Williams, and it's so good to have you. We're talking today, of course, as mentioned, about 1-800-CONTACTS on Funnel Friday. And before we even get into it, make sure to go ahead and hit subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube, and if you're listening to this on the podcast. Actionable audio, serious profit for serious marketers. Go ahead and make sure you tap subscribe as well. We want to make sure you get all this, and comment in the section below if you are someone who is interested in learning more about marketing funnels. And if so, what are you interested in hearing about? We'd love to get some feedback from everyone watching. So with that said, let's dive straight into it. Now, 1-800-CONTACT, this was something that I really wanted to do because, first of all, if you're someone with poor vision, you have glasses, it's such a headache. It's such a headache ordering new contacts, getting the prescriptions right, making sure you see your doctor, and 1-800-CONTACTS actually made it really fun. And that's really what the whole message is going to be today, is they nailed UX, and there's 3 things specifically that we're going to cover off today, and that's going to be talking about how you can actually use these things in your company. And what we're going to be talking about is how you can use UX and make things, actually a good experience. You can use subscription models. And then what we're going to talk about is customer service. So if you're looking for those things, you're in the right spot. Let's jump straight in with the first thing. And the first thing we're going to talk about is the UX. The user experience at 1-800-CONTACTS was phenomenal. Like I said, it made getting contacts kind of fun. And that started all the way with the update process. So what they do is, and this is something very simple that a lot of companies don't do, and it doesn't necessarily it doesn't need to be a subscription, it's just mining your customer data. If you know when someone ordered something last, and if you understand the product lifecycle, then you can hit them with updates as it's coming to a close, as you know they're about to renew or be out. And so with contacts, it's a little bit easier, granted, right? Like that's something that's very simple. I have very sensitive eyes. Actually, recording all day, most of the day, it makes my eyes very dry. In some of these videos, they're probably red. But contacts makes that a lot easier. And having one-day contacts, I can get them very conveniently. I don't have to worry about that as much. But what they did was they essentially, and again, it doesn't need to be difficult. You can use an Excel spreadsheet. When did someone order something last of your product? And then next, what you would do is you would estimate what's the life cycle of your product itself. If it's 2 weeks, you need to be hitting them with updates, with notifications closer to the end. Now, I would say that 1-800-CONTACTS does this as well. I would say if you do have a relative idea and general time frame when they're going to be renewed, then you want to make sure you're over-delivering closer to the end. People remember what happened last, not necessarily averaged out in the aggregate. Consumers don't work like that. So if you're going to over-deliver and spend resources and time and energy, make sure you're at least overweighting and over-delivering towards the end. So they would email me and say, hey, look, you're coming up to, you're running out. We don't like to run out. And that was some of the copy, which will show up on screen. But just some really good sales copy. It was very simple, but it was effective. And it reminds you, hey, I am running out. And instead of running away and not, just saying, look, this is something that's annoying to the consumer. We're not going to bother them. We're just going to hope they do it, and just we're not going to call attention to it. They own it, and when you own it, that erodes this objection. Buying anything is not that fun, but when you partner with a company and a brand that actually owns it and wants to proactively attack it, well, those nuisances to the consumer they're not really nuisances anymore. They're things that people, they're things that can be handled. People like to cross things off. And so when you're proactively, and think about it yourself, when you're proactively finishing a chores, a checklist, how good does it feel to cross things off? Now, when you're late on something, it doesn't really feel that it's cathartic or enjoyable to cross something off. But when you are actually proactive, it makes the whole experience a lot better. You feel like you're being responsible, and that's no longer annoying to be purchasing it. So the UX is for 1-800-CONTACTS was incredibly good, and that's just from the upfront communications process. Next, they had what I've never seen before, and I think a lot of people watching this will be surprised. But what they do is, if you've ordered from them before, and it's under a certain time frame, whatever the rules and regulations are, you have to make sure you're falling in them. But I had sent my prescription to 1-800-CONTACTS, and what they did was I got to take essentially an exam right there with the application. So I had to download an app, and what it was is they say, okay, look, stand back, so they'll say you need about 10 minutes, you need about 10 feet of space, and we need to access your microphone. I'm like, okay, I don't know what that means, but what they did was they actually did the eye exam right there. So the phone measured the distance. It had some sort of software that said, okay, you're about 10 feet. Place your face within the camera itself, and it was enough questions and enough of a good the software was good enough, and the user interface was good enough that you could tell it wasn't just making it up. Like they knew very specifically when I took even an inch forward. They knew that when my face wasn't in there, they can see the shape of my eyes and stuff like that. And as long as there's no drastic differences, they will right there renew your prescription. So as it turns out, my prescription was expired. It was such a nightmare, and I was like, okay, I'll give this a shot. I'm gonna have to call my doctor, but they were like, look, just try this out. And right then and there, they have you cover your eyes after you're at 10 feet, and you essentially read off what's on your cell phone. So they say, put your phone down and step back 10 feet. And that whole experience of getting basically an eye exam, like I said, you have to already have your prescription with them, but the whole experience was actually kind of fun. And you have to yell things out. Like, I tried to capture it all on a screen share. I did it twice. I purposely messed up the first time as I was all the way through. I was like, this would be really cool to talk about. And so as you're thinking of, that's kind of elaborate. But if you're out there going, I don't know how I would apply that. Well, if you take your product or service and you make it enjoyable, almost make it a game, it was really easy to use, it was quite fun. If you can make your total experience signing up for stuff fun, so instead of just inputting your information normal, here's your username, login, password, make it a game. Make it like if you forget your password, answer some trivia questions, make it trivia style, Jeopardy style, instead of just saying, oh, answer these security questions. That's something we do, and it's actually, our retention is very high. People usually, when they forget things, they forget their password. They just don't log on anymore. And a lot of software and a lot of applications, go look on your phone. You probably have a lot of things you don't use because you can't remember. But you need to gamify things, make things enjoyable. And 1-800-CONTACTS does a great job of that. So between their ability to reach out and proactively own the conversion process, especially as it pertains to renewals, and then also something as they address the pain point, something as annoying as your prescription expiring. That's so incredibly deflating, because you're like, I gotta go to the doctor, I've gotta schedule time, and I did it in about, I think that screen share is about 5 minutes total. So I did it in 5 minutes. That was my second time, so it's not as if things went swimmingly and I did it really fast. It's just normal. So they made something that takes a very long time, and they shortened it dramatically and made it fun, actually. So now their really barrier to entry is just getting people to actually download the app. But if you're in a situation in which you have such a pain point of going to the doctor, they understood that was probably the biggest pain point, and they delivered the biggest solution. What's the biggest problem your customers have? By far, the biggest, most annoying problem they have. You're a coffee shop, what's the biggest problem they have? They can't actually get there, you have no drive-through. You have, the coffee's too hot, I don't know. Your cups don't fit in cup holders. Whatever it is, over-deliver and try to make the experience enjoyable. And that's what 1-800-CONTACTS does. And now I honestly look forward to getting a new subscription. So over-deliver on the places that hurt the most, and be proactive in your customer experience. The last thing we're going to talk about is the customer service. So this is a no-brainer for anyone that owns a business and operates a business. Your customer service has to be through the roof. The more you can interact and engage with your consumer, the better. And this actually, one thing more recently than what we're going to talk about first, which is, actually I did all this, I ordered it all, I took my own exam, and then it got shipped to the wrong place. I'm not sure why. And I called. I remember I was livid, just I'm essentially blind and wearing my glasses. I can't wear my glasses all day, every day. It makes my eyes tired. So they, I had rush delivery. I paid for next day. I didn't even find out that my prescription was expired. So I had to do that all really fast, everything we just talked about. And then I called and they were like, look, we'll just send you another one right now. We'll rush it. And I'm waiting for it, actually, right now. I'm waiting for it to arrive. So this was like 2 days ago. And so they didn't even say what happened. Like, they didn't even really question the fact. I could have been anyone saying, hey, send me another box. They didn't even say that. I don't even think that they asked me to send them back. I'm sure they would appreciate that if I found them or something, or if they arrived, but they didn't even hesitate. And it was so refreshing. Again, I went from entering the call just absolutely furious to I ended up tweeting them saying I kind of just was talking to the associate for longer than I needed to about nothing. Like I mentioned, I made a comment about Utah once during that call, and so I tweeted out, and actually, they responded and said, happy to hear we're able to get you taken care of and make it enjoyable. We'll be standing by 24/7 to help you with anything else you may need. Now that's smart. They have a customer who's reaching out, and that makes me feel 10 times more heard. So if I was ever if I ever even had an inkling of dissatisfaction, I would remember all these times, and all these positives would massively outweigh any negatives. So they're buying the equity. Customer service is buying them a lot of leeway. And for companies, you should be striving for perfection in terms of your customer experience. But when you do mess up, you do want some capital, some emotional capital with your customer to say, look, let's give them a break. And so with them, they've more than over-delivered. I catch myself saying, look, the logistics of this must be, and I almost explain it away for them. And so that's honestly, and I do this for a living, so you can imagine I'm looking out for that stuff, and I'm still catching myself going, oh, that's it's no one's fault. Yeah, of course it's their fault. Of course it's DeepBridge's fault when I don't do something correct for a customer. It's my fault. But if I do a good enough job, my customers are a lot more understanding. All of you out there, if you over deliver, your customers are a lot more lenient on you, and they partner with you, because it's not just transactional, it's a relationship. And in relationships, you don't just blame, you work with someone. And that's what that's what 1-800-Contacts is building over the course of a 5-minute conversation and 3 tweets. They basically bought their way into that, to the point where I'm happy to feature them on Funnel Friday. I had no plans to. And I whipped this together in less than 24 hours. So I tweeted them back and said, look, we'll be featuring you. So I'm excited about this content, but those are the 3 things. So we went ahead and talked about the UX. We talked about some basic subscription information about reaching out, and especially towards the end of a renewal process and cycle, own that. So you're eroding any sort of barrier, any sort of pain point. You're making it easier to renew and purchase a product. And lastly, customer service. Just make your customer service over the top. Thanks for checking this information out, this content out. Make sure to subscribe. And if you're not subscribed, go ahead also to our Mailbag Monday and Whiteboard Wednesday. We have a lot of content we're making Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We're releasing the blogs. Check out DeepBridgeConsulting.com. If you have any questions, you can email me at nickWilliams@DeepBridgeConsulting.com, and I'll get back to you. But we'll see you soon, and everyone have a good weekend. Thanks, guys.